Hey, Disney cruisers, and welcome back to the DZL community, where we are here to help you plan, prepare for, and get excited for your Disney cruise. And let me tell you, when Hunter brought up talking about this topic, I was so excited because the amount of questions that we get about sailing during hurricane season would just blow your mind, or maybe it wouldn't. But this is such a hot topic, so I'm excited to dive into it to hopefully put some of your worries to bed, but also to give you a realistic look at what your expectations should be about sailing during hurricane season. So as you're coming in, please say hello. Let's see where you're walking from so that we can say hi. But Hunter, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hi guys, I'm Hunter. First and foremost, it's summer break. So if you hear some crazy kids in the background, they're doing the dishes after dinner. Just bear with me. It's real life around here. But anyways, my name is Hunter. I am a concierge travel advisor with JK Travel. I've been in the business for over 10 years now. I've been on 29 Disney cruises across all of the fleet. So I am a veteran Disney Cruise Line expert. I love all things Disney Cruise Line. Everything from the crew, the shows, the unlimited ice cream, of course, the private destinations, the perfect mix of beach relaxation and magic. I just feel like you can get a little bit of all of that in Disney cruises, and there's something for everyone on board.
Yes. Oh, that is so true. It really is the perfect vacation. And if somebody wants to get in touch with you, where should they start?
Yeah, so the best way to contact me is through email. So my email's there at the top. You can also go to my website, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of those things. We'll post this afterwards. The links will be live and clickable once we post them in the group. But definitely email is the best way. Myself and my assistants are in my email all day throughout the work week. So that is the best way to catch us. Within the Disney Cruise Line community, I do have a couple niche specialties with families picking staterooms, cruising with allergies, dealing a lot with different allergies, celiac disease. I actually have a Disney Cruise Line dedicated allergy group. And then, of course, Disney Cruise Line weddings, because I am a Disney Cruise Line bride myself. So if you kind of fall in any of those travelers, family, have allergies, weddings, need help picking a stateroom, first time cruiser, any of that, I'm your girl, happy to help you out.
Yes. And I'm going to just throw a plug in there. When she says that she is in her email all day, she means it. This girl, I swear, sometimes she responds to my emails before I send them. So if you have questions and if you are like me and you have a lot of questions when you travel, she has got your back. But as far as working together, I guess people should have a general idea that they probably want to go on a cruise, right? That's a good place to start.
So kind of talk with your family about what you're looking for in your vacation. Maybe a season you want to sail, maybe a port you want to go from, or maybe a port that you want to stop at. So once you kind of have a little bit of an idea, you can contact me and we will collaborate together to get the finer details, the ship, the exact sailing date. Maybe you want a special themed cruise. We can work through all of those things together. Once we kind of have that honed in on the experience you're looking for, we will send you a proposal. From there, once you look over that proposal, if any revisions are needed, we can do that. And then finally, we will book it and start the planning process together. You'll receive tons of emails from me talking about the ships, the destinations, things you need to know about your Disney cruise, and of course, planning milestone reminders. So you don't forget to book those onboard activities or excursions. You don't forget to do online check-in. We'll keep you on track for all of that.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I saw somebody today who's 3 days out from their cruise and they didn't know that they had to check in. And I was like, this is why you have a travel agent.
Yeah.
This is why you have a travel agent.
Yes, and we can help book your flights, your pre-night stay, your cruise, your transfers, add the gratuities for you, do third-party excursions. We can do a post-stay. Like, this is really popular in Europe, people wanting to extend their cruise in European cities. Or Alaska, like we can do all of those things. We don't just book the cruise. It's not a transaction for us. We really want to take care of you from the time you leave home until the time you get back home. Tracking your flights, just checking in with you, making sure everything's going well.
Yes, and let me tell you, I've seen some of the custom itineraries that Hunter has done for Europe, and they would make you drool. Like, I'm dying to go on one of these myself. So, if you are ready to plan your trip, whether it's a Disney cruise, Royal Caribbean, a European adventure, reach out to Hunter. She is here to help, and so is her entire team, right? They want you to have the best vacation possible. The link to her page for the Disney community is down at the bottom for everybody. But like Hunter said, we're going to share this into the group after, and you can click all those links to get in touch with her. But let's go ahead and let's dive into hurricane season, right? Everybody, you think cruises, especially Bahamas, and people immediately are like, I shouldn't sail. When should I not sail? So let's kind of paint the picture of when hurricane season actually is.
Yeah, so hurricane season is now. We're already in hurricane season. It started June 1st and it goes to the end of November, which is kind of crazy to think about. That's a long span,
Yes.
the whole summer. So we see the most hurricanes mid August to mid October. That's just where they typically come in. They come in hot and heavy in September. So if you're going to be more cautious about sailing during hurricane season, maybe avoiding that time if you're super particular about it. Um, I personally don't necessarily worry too much about June, July, or November.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, I know I think it was last year when there were those crazy storms that like shut down Fort Lauderdale. Like that happened in December, right? So these things could happen at any point in the year. It's about being ready and prepared for if something does happen. But Mother Nature can hit whenever she wants. Lord knows we could have a August through October with not a storm, right? That would be ideal.
Yes, definitely. So, how are the cruises affected by hurricane season? Well, number one, they have radar systems, they have them shoreside, they work with the weather team, they have radars on board. So, they're constantly monitoring storms because the number one priority across all cruise lines is safety. They're not going to put all their passengers and crew at risk.
Mhm.
So, they're going to be proactive about this. They may reroute, they may change out a port, they may go a long way to a port. There is really actually cancellations due to hurricanes. Usually they can change the itinerary enough that they are unbothered by the storms. And we actually see that a lot. So you're not going to be cruising right into a hurricane.
Mhm.
Believe it or not, these ships are faster than the storms. And like I said, they're going to be proactive. So if there's a storm, where they're headed, they're not going that way. They're going to go, like I said, reroute you. But ultimately, we know that hurricane season is unpredictable. Nobody knows when the next storm is going to form or where it's going to hit until it hits. So
Mhm.
they're going to do everything they can to mitigate any issues from the get-go. As soon as that they see that formation and there's a named storm, things like that.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if there was anybody who I think could figure out how to control the weather, it would be Disney, but they haven't figured that out quite yet. If someone out there has figured out how to predict the weather and all of these storms, if you could also get Hunter and I the lottery numbers, that would be great. But until then, let's kind of paint the picture of what it actually looks like in the Caribbean. And somebody asked if there's hurricanes in Alaska.
No.
No hurricanes in
There's
Alaska.
storms. So
Yeah.
there can be different kinds of storms. So on the West Coast, one of the bigger issues with having all of the plates would be earthquakes, and then the issue of like a tsunami. Um, that would be a bigger issue on the West Coast. There are type like tropical storm type things that happen in Hawaii or tsunamis, but like true hurricanes are more of a Caribbean, like an Atlantic, South Pacific phenomena, not up into the cold waters. The cold fronts can stop. Somehow, I'm not a meteorologist, guys, but somehow the
Yeah.
cold fronts affect these storms. Warm water intensifies them, if I remember correctly. Like I said, I didn't study weather. I just kind of know how it works.
Yeah.
um,
Love it.
but let's talk about some stats of how many cruises go out during these months and how many are actually affected. So I pulled up the Disney Cruise Line website, did a little search, and in 2025, there is 151 Disney cruises in the Caribbean and Bahamas from June to November. So that's a lot. And if we're using that same 151, 150 average, less than 2% of those in 2024 were affected by a hurricane. So one was canceled, one was rerouted, and one port arrival was altered, meaning they got into port really late and flights were affected and things like that. So only 3 cruises truly affected by hurricanes in 2024 out of 151. It was like 1.98%.
Wow.
So
Okay,
that's pretty good odds.
yes, that's I think I have better odds with that than playing the lottery. So
Yeah, and similar stats in 2022 and 2023. 2022, 1 canceled, 1 rerouted, 1 altered. 2023, 2 rerouted. And I will say in 2022, one of the ones that was like rerouted, altered, they actually got like 2 extra days at sea, and the one it kind of went hand in hand. One was canceled because the other one got like 2 extra days added, if I remember correctly, because they couldn't get back into port. Basically, they had to stay out at sea where they were safe. But these numbers just show you that just because you're cruising during hurricane season, you still have great odds.
yes, that's so true. And I see the question here.
Go ahead.
Oh, see the question here. What happens if it gets canceled? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to prepare and everything. But go ahead, Hunter. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that very, very few are actually affected, and it should not like deter you from planning if that's like the best season for you to go. But keep in mind that if there was a storm in the area, maybe the week prior, or there's one brewing, you could still experience rough water.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, the lingering effects of the ripples, if you will, of the storm can definitely impact. And I mean, we cruised at one point during hurricane season, and I mean, it was October and it was still very hot out, but there was one day where a storm had rolled through, and dare I say, I was cold at Castaway and like early October. It's just right, Mother Nature, she works in mysterious ways.
And even a normal thunderstorm that happens at sea can make the water really rough, and just currents. I've had horrible rough water in January and February, so
yes,
it's not always just hurricane season.
Yeah, and to your point, you could have a storm at home that impacts your travel more than the cruise actually, or the hurricane would. So there's just a lot of factors to keep in mind here. But those numbers are definitely reassuring that hurricanes are not something, because people stress about it so much, but less than 2%.
And that's just Disney. Think about how many cruises are in the Caribbean during that time frame among all of the brands.
Yeah.
And their stats are usually pretty similar.
Yes. It's nothing to, I know that people are scared and worried. And I think, especially if you're a first time cruiser, it can be daunting to feel like you're out there during a storm. But like Hunter said, Disney is not going to put you at risk. That's not a good experience for them. It's not a good experience for you. It is a lose-lose. So they're going to take care of you as much as they possibly can and plan things ahead of time. And speaking of planning things ahead of time, that is why travel insurance is so gosh darn important. And I feel like some people are just like, no, I don't need it. No, I don't need it.
Yes. So travel insurance, it's the vein of people's existence, but if you need it and you don't have it, you wish you did. So you're spending, I always say this, and it's bold and it's blunt, and I'm not sorry, guys. If you're going to spend thousands on vacation, spend the extra few $100s on travel insurance, for gosh sake.
Yes.
Quit risking thousands of dollars over a couple $100s.
Yeah.
It's just not worth it. I don't care if you buy Disney's. I don't care if you buy third party. Just buy it. And when it comes to hurricane season, you have to have already purchased your policy before a named storm. If you try to purchase after a storm is already named, you're not going to be covered.
That's a good point.
So, excuse me, what does it cover? Every policy is a little different, but most policies will cover these basics: trip cancellation, interruption, delays, canceled flights, medical emergencies and emergency evacuation, and then some luggage issues. Give me 1 second. I need to clear my throat. I don't want to do it.
No, you are totally fine. I know allergies have been crazy here, but I mean, there's so many things that it covers. And I think people are just assume like the worst isn't going to happen, but you don't say that about driving your car around town. Like you get the car insurance
Right.
just in case. And I mean, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, my first career was before, doing travel full time as a nurse. Okay. And if for no other reason they had medical coverage, get the darn travel insurance, because your insurance that you have from at home, from your job or your husband's job or your wife's job, whatever, is not going to pick up the bill out of country. And that includes on a cruise ship. So just for an example, we did a multi-generational cruise in February, embarkation day, literally just ate lunch. My grandmother was out in the heat. She's had like a heart valve replacement. And she was getting up to go to the bathroom and she didn't make it. She sat down in Cove Cafe and got pale and clammy and profusely sweating and could barely talk, and her blood pressure went really low. And then we were trying to get her back to the room to cool her down, and she passed out. We spent like 3 hours in the infirmary, blood work, EKG, IV, the whole 9 yards. Had to go back the next day for repeat labs, vitals, all those things. And her insurance at home would not have picked that up. So luckily she had travel insurance, and we did have to pay in cash on the ship, but we got home. I filed the claim for her, and she had a check within 5 weeks reimbursing her.
Awesome.
The same cruise, my son cut his hand and had to go to the infirmary and get stitches. Like the same, it was literally the next day. So we were on a first name basis with the doctor. But we were able to get reimbursed, and now my son has a tetanus shot vaccine record that says Disney Treasure on it.
That's an interesting souvenir that, nobody else is going to have it from the gift shop.
Other situations, if you have an appendix, you cannot tell your appendix when it's going to rupture, right? When you're going to have an appendicitis. That is like my number one. You never know. We've had a very young gentleman have, like in his 30s, have a widowmaker heart attack. You truly never know. So have that medical coverage, because there's no reason to put yourself in a financial ruin for something you can control by paying a couple $100s. So that's my little TED talk. I'll step off my soapbox and we can move on.
Yeah, and if you're sitting there and you're rolling your eyes, listen, we don't work for the travel insurance companies. Like that is not why we're here. But we want to prepare you. It's just like with a passport. I know for the both of us, it's the peace of mind that if something were to happen, you are prepared. Because when you are in that situation, the last thing you want to have to worry about is, can I afford this? You're covered. So I will also get off my soapbox.
So there's a couple different differences when you're looking at travel insurance that you should pay attention to. Are you looking at the standard plan or the cancel for any reason plan? The standard plan has specific reasons that it will cover. The cancel for any reason, and this is before travel. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Something is stuck in my throat.
No, listen, it's the worst, and it happens. This is real life and live TV. It happens. But I'm glad that you're calling out the different policies, because I think people are just so quick to, especially, Disney, they'll just assume, oh, Disney's policy is the best, so I'll just go with it. But there are other options and things to consider.
So if you purchase cancel for any reason, a lot of times there's going to be some reason you have to cancel that is not going to be covered. It's not going to be an illness or a death or something big that is already covered by a standard plan. So if you have cancel for any reason, those policies typically reimburse you up to 75% of your investment. And while it may not be 100%, it is something, right? You're not losing all of your money. So if you think there could be, maybe you're just wary, maybe you're just like, I don't know if my finances are going to allow it. Get canceled for any reason. That won't be refundable, but at least you would be getting some of your money back.
Such a good point.
And then there's also pre-existing condition waivers. You need to speak directly to the insurance company about this, but if you have a heart problem, if you have any pre-existing condition, so maybe allergies, this is a big one, food allergies, or a heart condition or diabetes, there's going to be a look back period on your policy. If you haven't had any major changes in your medical condition for whatever that insurance company's look back duration is, then you'll be covered. If you have within purchase of that policy, you're not going to be covered for that if something happens related to that specific problem.
Interesting. Oh, I didn't know that. And this is why, right? Hunter's family, she has allergies and dietary restrictions that she has to consider within her family. And I know she mentioned the group too. These are things that you have to think about depending on your family's needs. So I learn something new every time we talk. I swear that I had no idea. Oh my gosh. Okay. So more things to consider. And I know some people automatically want to go Disney's. It's easy. I know as a travel agent, you can just add it onto the policy, but you have other options too, right?
Yeah. So I can tell you for what it's worth, I don't ever buy Disney for my own family. I go with Travel Insured. It's my preferred vendor. It's a company I've had good luck with filing claims for my family. And I've had to file 4 claims, I think, in the last 5 years. Never really had a problem. And there was a couple times I got to resubmit some extra documentation that I didn't the first time, but I don't feel like they've ever given me the runaround. And I know some of my clients have had good experience too. Same with Travel Guard. I really haven't had any issues with them. A few times I've used them. I just prefer Travel Insured. What we say is you find one you like and you know everything about it, and then you have a backup. Travel Guard's my backup. And then another popular one is Allianz and then Chubb. They're all reputable. I believe Disney Cruise Line uses Arch.
I don't know if I was the only one who definitely thought it was pronounced Alliance until this moment. So thank you, Hunter, for calling that out.
It might be. I could be wrong.
No, I'm fairly certain that you are going to be right in this situation.
So Disney Cruise Line uses Arch. I cannot speak to them. I don't know anything about them.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's nice to have options, especially, shopping around different places have different options where, you can have just the trip that you want. But if you're somebody who travels frequently, you might want to look at an annual plan with someone so that all your travel is covered. I don't know if anyone offers like a family plan. I don't know about that, but
so usually you're buying the policy for everybody on the booking. But there are some annual policies if you're traveling multiple times a year. So we have an annual policy through Travel Insured. But you really got to talk to the insurance company about the annual policies because the annual policies don't pick up until your vacation starts. So if you want that pre-vacation coverage for cancellation reasons, you have to add additional coverage for each trip. So when I'm doing a last minute work trip, I just use my annual plan because I'm not adding cancellation coverage before because I'm traveling for work and I know I'm traveling. Like I can't get out of it. Yeah. When I'm traveling with my family, then I add on extra. I want to say my annual plan, like for just me, was like $94. And then I add on additional coverage for depending on the trip. Like if I'm going to Europe and I'm booking into Euro, I'm definitely adding extra coverage.
Yeah,
or like
absolutely.
Alaska. But then I don't have to worry about like when I go to work conferences in Mexico or wherever. I was just in Pennsylvania. Things like that. I don't have to worry about not having that coverage. It kicks in as soon as my trip starts because I have that annual plan. So
Love
there's so
that.
many different things. I, as an agent, don't sell annual plans to clients, just by trip. But if you have a preferred vendor, you can just call them and they can walk you through it. On the last slide, I did have a little note. Travel agents are not licensed insurance agents. So we cannot, by the rules and by our liability insurances, answer specific questions or give specific advice about policies because we are not licensed. So you do have to contact the insurance provider directly. We can sell you the plan and give you the options, but we can't answer specific questions.
Yeah, good to know. And I know it helps just narrowing it down because there are so many insurance companies. And by the way, 4 different people said you pronounced it the right way, and I did not. So A+ for you. But there are so many
That's
options.
relieving.
Yeah. Listen, you're the professional here. But I know there's so many options that it helps to narrow it down and to have somebody to kind of funnel as much as you can through. And then when you have those specific questions, obviously you can go to the insurance company. But let's overall, should you actually take a cruise during hurricane season? Would you?
Absolutely. Pros, lower prices and promos. We just saw Disney Cruise Line release those promos for August and September. If you are a Disney Visa cardholder, you can get $250 onboard credit. Those sailings were during hurricane season. Fewer crowds. Obviously, that is not for June and July.
Mm-hmm.
June and July is busy. But
Yes.
August and September, again, it's fewer crowds because they're dropping promotions. They're trying to fill the ships.
Yes.
The weather in the Bahamas is wonderfully hot. Like, I love hot weather. Like, I love to bake on the beach and be a lobster. I call it charging my solar panels. So, like, that's my vibe. Like, I would love to be in the Caribbean in August and September. I don't care how hot it is.
Yes.
So if you like that, then it's for you. Good service because there are fewer people. I would say, I was just talking to one of my business development people, and I want to say they told me end of January, early February, middle of May, and September are their lowest, but September historically is always is the lowest. And it makes sense.
Yeah.
Those are times when kids are either just going back to school or the middle of May is right before they're about to get out.
Yeah.
So, and it's right after spring break. So they're kind of in these lull moments.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I know I wouldn't hesitate to sail then either. I mean, you and I are both beach bums. Give me that long walk to Lookout any day to go sit on that beach and enjoy those views in the middle of July, August, September, all day.
Yeah, it's going to be hot as heck, but then you have the ocean.
Yes. Yeah.
I just get in, I cool off, I get out, and I get hot, and I get back in, and it's just like a cycle.
Yes.
So cons. Obviously, you have to be flexible. Itinerary changes are going to happen. And if your port gets changed, you can't throw a fit about it because in the cruise contract that you're essentially signing when you book and agree to the terms, it says ports can change. And you cannot request a refund or throw a fit at guest services because your port changed. You agree to that. Whether you read it or not, that's on you.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
You could have instead of it getting changed, you may have a misport and just have another day at sea. Personally, I don't see anything wrong with that. I love days at sea.
Yeah.
So you have to be flexible. Another con is that your flights could get impacted. We know, I would say the bigger issue about sailing during hurricane season is getting there and getting home because after those delays and cancellations just become compounded effect and it takes days to weeks to get the airline schedules back on track. I'm more wary about flying near a hurricane than sailing because of those compounding delays and cancellations.
Yeah.
The air industry is just wild.
Yeah. There's so many things you can't control with that.
Yeah. if you are go with the flow, prefer to save a buck over having a set itinerary where you're looking for a summer or fall vacation, you want lower crowds, like August and September is for you, my man. Like,
Yeah,
that is right up your alley, like just for you.
absolutely.
But yes, I think you should sail then. I think it's lovely.
Yes, it's so less than 2% people. I'm just going to throw that number out there again, less than 2%.
I'm
And
going to
we
see
did
Rebecca commenting that on the page now.
I know, in all capital letters with just the link to this video. You're like, watch this. And we did have a couple of questions. And if you have any others that we don't get to, please reach out to Hunter. The link to her page is scrolling through the bottom of the screen. But Katie's asking what actually happens if they do cancel your cruise.
So typically, well, you're going to get a refund. And then a lot of times you'll get a future cruise credit. It'll be in the form of like a future cruise credit, and you might even get a percentage off or something. It's not the same every time, so I can't tell you specifically, but they will work with you. They want you to rebook so that you're going to get incentivized.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, they want you
They
to
don't have
continue
to do that, but they do because they know it's heartbreaking.
It's a bummer. Yeah.
And it dampens the idea of it. So they do incentivize it.
And remember too, I think a lot of times people, and right, we all look forward to our vacations, but think about the crew too, who maybe they were getting ready to go on vacation and go home to see their families, and now they're delayed a day or two, right? Nobody wants this to happen, but it's just the reality sometimes. And Leslie's asking, if it gets canceled, what do I do about flights? How do I change those if I don't have Wi-Fi on the ship? Would I have to buy it, or does Disney actually help me? Good question. Hugh Hunter coming to the rescue from shoreside, but
yeah. So I stay in contact with my travelers through WhatsApp typically, because you can use WhatsApp for free on the sailings. And for my travelers, I will be behind the scenes working to rebook them on new flights. Typically with Disney Cruise Line, you need to go to guest services, and it's a whole process to get yourself rebooked.
Yes, but if you work with Hunter, she has got your back on the way there and after. And Carrie's asking if you're sailing and it rains that much where you can't get off at the port, do they add things to do on board? I feel like we'll be bored if there's not much to do. We have an excursion planned, we booked, but that would be canceled.
Yes. So if they turn something into like a sea day, there's always activities. I think Rebecca just posted recently, wasn't there like 100 and some activities on any given day on your recent cruise?
Yes, so many to choose from. Like, there's literally no way to do them all. No way.
And so if you're going to be bored, it's your own fault because there's tons of activities. But in this situation, like Disney Cruise Line improvises. We've missed Castaway once, and it added a third day at sea for us. And one of my favorite activities came out of it. I don't even know if they do this anymore. They used to do it in Eastern Caribbean with the 3 days at sea, but you race potatoes.
You race potatoes?
Yes, they give you a potato. They give you like little wheels or carrots, and you race them down this track. Like you make a car.
That is so cool.
And this was like, we did this in like 2020. We missed Castaway. They added it. And it was one of the last sailings before the world shut down. And I still have pictures of my kids with this little potato car that we made. It had like carrots, potatoes, and like these little wheels. And I think they give us nails to put the wheels on. I can't even remember. I'd have to look at my pictures. And it was one of my favorite things ever. I think they do it in the kids club now with bars of soap.
I remember doing. Yes.
So that became like my favorite activity that we've really ever done, is like with the kids. And I know they used to do it on Eastern Caribbean sailings, but we got it on a Western because we had a day at sea canceled. So yes, they add all sorts of activities, and they like pull stuff out of the woodworks. They always have stuff plan A, B, and C.
Yes, yes, they
Because
are.
think about like these transatlantic and the like I don't know, the
Yeah,
Panama Canal crossing, all of those sailings that are like 14 days long, they have all these activities that they do for those sailings that the shorter sailings, even 7 night sailings, don't get to do. So they already have these activities curated and they just bring them out and you just kind of
yes.
have a surprise.
Yes, it's something unique just to your cruise, like things that we may have not even ever done. And to your mentioning transatlantic, that's a good segue into Lindsay's question. I want to do the transatlantic, but worried about all the storms on the way there. That's a lot of sea days for rough waters. Have you heard anything good or bad about these?
Um, it just depends on the weather, right? Like
Yeah.
I have not done a transatlantic, only because the timing, I still have little kids in school, so the timing doesn't work for me. But you can bet that it will be. If there's storms going through the area during that time, it's going to be rough. Like,
Yes.
there's no doubt about it. Um, but it's just Mother Nature and it's not something we can predict.
Yes. I feel like that is the theme of this is yes, I know hurricane season is scary. It is intimidating. I know I sailed on board the Dream during a tropical storm, and I will never forget. I was like walking on deck with a piece of pizza, clear as day in my mind. And the wind was so strong that the pizza literally flew off my plate, hit the guy behind me in the face, and I didn't know what to do. Right, I was like 11, and I just took off running. I couldn't handle it. But anyways, and after that, they closed down the deck because they were like, no one can be out here. It's too windy, right? Like they're ratcheting down all the chairs. You're not seeing things like fly around. And if things do get rough, Hunter has a whole blog that she's written on seasickness and how to remedy that and prepare as best as you can. And that's all part of working with her as your travel advisor, is she puts you in the best position for success for your cruise. And we'll make this the last question before we go. Thinking about using my placeholder, but it would be during hurricane season. If it is canceled, do I get my placeholder back?
You don't get your actual placeholder back, but like I said, they work with you and they incentivize it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you would get some other form of compensation. Just going back to transatlantic real quick, if you're worried about the storms, personally, I would do the May crossing
Ooh.
going to Europe rather than the crossing coming home from Europe, which is normally in like September, but because this year it's later because of the
dry dock. Yeah, yeah. It's a good thing to keep in mind.
So
Yeah.
that's just a little tidbit. I do see a question here. Also, I'll touch real quick. Would you cruise the first week of December or mid-April? I personally am cruising the first week of December this year, and I have several years in the past also. And I would absolutely cruise mid-April, weather-wise.
Yes. Yeah. They're both good. Cruise anytime. Hunter and I will be the first to tell you. Like, I think everybody has favorite times to be on board, but you really can't go wrong. And spoiler alert, that includes hurricane season, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I've cruised every single month of the year among my 29 cruises. I'm sure Rebecca's probably cruised about every month of the year too.
yeah.
And there's really no month I wouldn't cruise.
Yes, just go. If it works for your family, take the time. Especially, I know a lot of teachers, right? August is one of the times when you can get off. I know, military families, a lot of times you take the breaks when you can get them. So don't be afraid of hurricane season. We promise you, Disney's been sailing for, what is this, 26 years now?
Yeah.
20, yeah.
26.
You'll be great. You'll be great. You'll be so good. But if you are ready to plan your vacation with Disney Cruise Line or anywhere else around the world, please reach out to Hunter. She is here to help, and she can help you plan your Disney cruise for free. Her planning services are free for you to utilize. So reach out to her, let her help you so that you don't have to worry about any of this. She will just have your back and have you covered. Hunter, thank you so much for hanging out and talking all things hurricane. And we will see all y'all on board real soon. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.